Hey, what's up guys, it's Kess. I just wanted to make a quick video on the new Motes build that I've been running for the last 3 weeks. So I'll just explain kind of how it works, what you should do, stats, all that good stuff. So to jump right into it, for the last 3 weeks or so, I've switched over from Molten Embers and Infernal's Blessing to Overlord and Motes of Possibility. Now, just a quick little info guide on how motes work. So every time you eruption, you have a 15% chance to spawn a mote, and then the Overlord talent, every time you Breath of Eons, you are going to spawn 3 motes from the eruptions that your Eons do. So every time you Eons, you get 3, and then you're with your Eons Lust, you're spitting out a bunch of eruptions, so you're probably going to proc more in that window as well. Each mote could give you one of 3 buffs. The first buff is Infernal's Blessing. Don't really care too much about it. It honestly does like 0% of your damage. It's complete air. The second buff is a 2-point Symbiotic Bloom, so it gives you 6% healing. Again, don't really care about it. It's kind of just there. It exists. It's free, whatever. And the third buff is the most important one, and that is Shifting Sands. And Shifting Sands is the verse buff that you give your team. Usually just goes on your DPS after you cast empowered spells, and it's based off your mastery. The more mastery you have, the more versatility you give them, right? Which is going to be important for this build later. So that's it. There's 3 buffs. The only buff you care about is shifting, and the way these motes work, so I'll just spawn them for you quick. So you see when I Eons, it's these gold orbs flying around, right? So the only ones we care about are shifting, and I actually just procced one, and funny enough, so it basically will like never go on you. The only time it'll go on you as the Evoker is if you are the 5th option in the party, so it'd have to be on 4 other people. But how it works is when the motes spawn, if I just go and eat them, if it's Symbiotic Bloom or Infernal's Blessing, I get it. Doesn't matter, right? That buff on other people just, it doesn't really matter. If I eat it and it procs a shifting, it'll go on my teammates, right? So again, people are always like, oh, do I have to tell my team to go eat the orbs? Does it change my gameplay? Does it change their gameplay? No, it doesn't at all. If your team eats them, great, they could get 2 other additional buffs, but if you just go and eat them all, you're just going to proc the Shifting Sands on your teammates for them. They don't have to do anything. There's 2 ways you can do this. 1, just go eat them and hope you get as many shiftings out as possible. 4, sometimes 5. It's very rare when you get 5 and you're the 5th one, right? But it's usually like 2 instances a key from the logs and the data that I have. But so that's the first way to do it, is just go eat them. The second way to do it is to like do your rotation and track your Shifting Sands, right? So if I'm doing my rotation, I get both empowered spells out, and I have 2 shiftings out on my team. I could like keep track of the duration on them, and then when there's expires, I could go eat the motes to try and proc the shifting again on the DPS. That is also an acceptable way to do it. That's generally how I play it throughout the key, but when I'm in Lust, or if we're doing like big like 40 stack windows and stuff like that, I like to just eat the motes right away to try and get as many Shifting Sands out as possible, so that it's like eating into our cooldowns and our Lust windows and stuff like that, right? So that's how motes work. Again, 2 ways to play them. They shouldn't change your gameplay at all, really. Like, they kind of just exist. The whole point of this build, honestly, is it's like so stress-free. You can just do all the other AUG stuff and do your normal rotation, right? You're not tied down to like max rank Fire Breath windows with Molten Embers and stuff like that. And Molten Embers was like pretty punished by movement, because you can't hover in Fire Breath, right? But yeah, it's pretty chill. It's super easy to play. You can focus on the other aspects of AUG. It does very good damage. It's always going to be equal to or greater than the Molten Embers build, so that's why it's just like an obvious choice to play it. Where this build becomes even better is if you... So I play a Mastery Flask now because we're stacking Mastery, Haste Mastery. When you stack Mastery, and then if you can get your hands on an ovinax egg, and then you cook the egg often to the Mastery side, So you'll see how my like percent here is just changing as I'm moving. So we can like cook this all the way up to pretty much 16%. So that's gonna transfer a good amount of verse to our team, and it results in big damage. Like if you look at the logs in this build, so Ebon Might's always at the top, right? And then Shifting Sands is honestly just like right behind it. It's so close to like doing equivalent damage. So yeah, the focus with this build is haste mastery. Bombardment scale off the crit of other people in your group. So crit as scale commander is like very low value. It's also bugged currently, so the value drops even lower. You want to try and avoid like stacking crit and then go more haste mastery heavy, especially if you're playing with like good people and in a good group. That's where like the heavy mastery becomes more valuable. If you're playing like maybe lower keys with people who aren't as good at pressing their buttons, you could maybe play a little bit more crit just to like sneak out a bit more personal damage. But again, imagine the people you're playing with are good and just go haste mastery as much as you can. And honestly, that's like pretty much it. It's very simple. It does a lot of damage. You know, you can eat the motes yourself. I would recommend tracking shifting, paying attention to it. But again, it doesn't really change your gameplay too much. The ovinax egg as well. This doesn't change your gameplay too much. You just want to like, because we're hovering and casting a lot anyways. So you see, I track my stacks down here. So like right now, I just locked it in at 19-11 split. Like, not the end of the world. It doesn't really matter too much what you do with it. I would just recommend to cook it to a heavy mastery side often when you're about to use empowered spells. But you can also, what I usually do is I will cook it intellect side heavy, and I'll bug the egg so I get a free stack. So it'll be like 20-11, 20 being intellect, 11 being mastery. But there's a lot of flexibility with the egg. Like I said, it's not too impactful on your gameplay. Yeah, pretty simple. So yeah, make sure you go haste mastery. I recommend mastery flask. If you're playing the egg, mastery has to be your highest secondary stat for the secondary effect to be mastery. And then last thing I want to talk about is fire breath, because I get asked this question a ton. So with no molten embers, you still want to max rank your fire breath in AoE, ideally for leaping flames, which is going to hopefully equate to more essence burst, which then equals more momentum shift, right? So in AoE, ideally you max rank fire breath. Again, if that is like punished by any sort of movement gameplay or mechanical gameplay or anything like that, and you can't max rank fire breath, it's totally fine, right? You're not really getting punished because you're not missing out on the molten embers, you know, 20% damage amp, right? But yeah, we still want leaping flames in AoE, and then in single target you can just rank one. Just rank one and get to casting eruptions. It's very simple. This is probably the easiest aug build ever. Like, you literally just do your rotation and eat some golden orbs every once in a while, right? Super easy. And I guess too, the rotational stuff, like, it doesn't really change at all. You still want a fire breath before eons. There is a world where you could make an argument where you could fire breath and upheaval before eons now. But again, doesn't really matter too much. It's one GCD optimization either way. Just make sure you fire breath before eons still. Fire breath is a pretty bad global. It just gets the shifting out. It doesn't really do damage. It's not giving us additional amps or anything like that because no molten embers. So just get it out and then make sure your eons globals are, you know, mostly just going to be eruptions because of plot the future and imminent, right? But yeah, that's pretty much it. Just eat the orbs, have fun, do big damage. I can show you guys a quick log of sort of what the damage breakdown looks to at the end here. But other than that, just want to make a quick guide. Thank you so much for watching. Appreciate you guys a lot, and see you in the next one. Peace.